Hi grade 8. So today we're going to go back over backtracking and inverse operations again, just because I felt that a lot of people were not getting it. So we're going to use the worksheet that we had yesterday, and we're going to go through a few examples on that, as well as going through how to balance the equations like you would in an exam. So I want you to watch this video. You can watch it as many times as you want to. Other than that, let's give it a shot. All right, here's the worksheet that we had yesterday. Let's go with this first one. Now, I went over this one yesterday, but I want to go over it again, just because. All right, let's go. So, we've got to figure out what A is, and we're going to follow these instructions at the top. It wants us to add 6. So, let's go. A plus 6. Now it wants us to multiply by 2. Now, we can't go A plus 6 times 2, because that'll give us a very, very different answer to anything else that we are going to get. So we need to actually put the 2 first, and we need to put the A plus 6 in brackets. Alright, now 2A plus 6, 2 times A plus 6 equals 28. Now we've got that answer, and we can actually use the inverse operations, inverse of these ones, which is just the opposite, to work out what A is. So let's plug them in. So the inverse of positive 2 is, multiply by 2 is divide by 2. And the inverse of plus 6 is minus 6. So let's go. 28 divided by 2 is 14. And 14 minus 6 is 8. Now, if you were to plug 8 in where A is here, you will find that your answer will be 28. So, let's write our statement. If 2A plus 6 equals 28, then A equals 8. Alright, does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Let's perhaps move on to the next one. Let's move over here and do this one here. Alright, so we've got B over here. We need to work out what B is. Let's follow the instructions. So, B divided by 5 is B over 5. Then we need to do this one here. So we need to add 3. So B over 5, add 3. So if B over 5 add 3 is equal to 7, we can now work out what B is by doing the inverse of these here. So let's plug them in. So the inverse of positive 3 of plus 3 is minus 3, and the inverse of divide by 5 is multiply by 5. Alright, all we've got to do now is follow the instructions. 7 minus 3 is 4, and 4 times 5 is 20. So if B here equals 20, and we plug B into here, we should get 7. In fact, let's do that really quickly. So if B is 20 over 5 plus 3 equals 20 divided by 5 is 4 plus 3, which equals 7. Alright, so we know that our answer is correct. We know that B is 20 because it matches up with this answer here. Alright, let's do one more. In fact, I'm probably going to skip this third one over here, and we're going to go on to a longer one. Let's go over to this one here. So, we need to work out what E is, and we know our final answer over here is 12. So let's follow the instructions up here to see what we get. So the first one is E times negative 2. Now we always put the number first, So let's put in there negative 2e. Alright, which just means negative 2 times e. Our next instruction is to subtract 6. So we put negative 2e minus 6. And our last instruction up here is to multiply by negative 3. Now again, if we go ahead and we write negative 2e minus 6 times negative 3, we're going to end up with a very different answer to what we actually need. So we are going to put in our negative 3 in the front, because we're multiplying negative 3 by this whole bit here. So negative 3 times negative 2e minus 6. So if negative 2e minus 6 equals 12, we can work out what e is by doing the inverse of these operations up here. Let's plug them in. So the inverse of multiply negative 3 is divide negative 3. The inverse of minus 6 is add 6. And the inverse of multiply negative 2 is divide negative 2. So let's go ahead and plug that in. So 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 6, remember we're adding, so we go up the number line, will give us 2. And 2 divided by negative 2 is going to give us a negative 1, because remember a positive divided by a negative will always give you a negative. Therefore e should equal negative 1. Let's put our statement in. If negative 3 times negative 2e minus 6 equals 12, then e equals negative 1. Alright, so if we plug in negative 1 where e is up here, we should end up with 12. Let's make a bit of space and let's do that over here, and we can double check. So negative 3 times negative 2 times negative 1 minus 6 equals 12. Now we need to do what's in brackets first. So we'll go negative 3. Now negative 2 times negative 1 is going to be a positive, and it'll be 2 minus 6 equals 12. Now we need to do what's in the brackets first. So negative 3 times, now 2 minus 6 will be negative 4 equals 12. And when you multiply a negative by a negative, we always get a positive. So negative 3 times negative 4 equals 12. And as you can see here, our answer is here. Therefore, e definitely equals 1, because we've checked it. Alright, we are going to do one more, and then we're going to move on to equations, which is what this is all about. Let's see, which one shall we do? Let's do this one here with a 0, because that might be a bit confusing for a few people. Alright, we need to find I, and the answer for the equation is going to be 0. So let's follow the instructions. So we want us to subtract 8, so we go I minus 8. Next thing it wants us to do is to divide by 6. So I minus 8 divided by 6. The next step is to multiply all of this by negative 5. So we put our negative 5 in the front, and we multiply the whole lot by negative 5. Alright, so we know that this equals 0, and we need to find I. So let's work backwards by doing the inverse of these operations up here. So the inverse of multiply negative 5 is divide negative 5. The inverse of divide 6 is multiply 6. And the inverse of subtract 8 is add 8. Alright, let's go. So 0 divided by negative 5 is going to be 0, because anything multiplied or divided by 0 will be 0. Therefore 0 times 6 is also going to be 0. Now we need to add 8. So 8 plus 0 is 8. Therefore I should equal 8, and if we plug I in here, if we plug 8 in over here, we should get 0. Let's write our statement. If negative 5 times I minus 8 over 6 equals 0, then I should equal 8. Alright, let's check it. Let's move over here and we will check our sum. Alright, so negative 5 times I minus 8 over 6. Okay, we want it to equal 8, we need to plug 8 in where I is. Okay, so equals negative 5 times 8 minus 8 over 6. We need to do what's in the brackets first, and we need to do the division first. Remember, order of operations. So negative 5 times 8 minus 8 is 0 over 6. And 0 divided by 6 is going to be 0. And negative 5 times 0 is going to be 0. So we know then, because it matches up, that our answer is correct. We know that I equals 8. Alright, I want you now to go and finish off this worksheet. I've done these ones for you. Now I want you to finish them off. Once you've done that, then you can move on to the next bit. Alright, so in an exam you're going to get something that looks like this. 2a plus 6 equals 28. And they are going to ask you to find a. Now in order to do that, we need to get a on its own, on this side of the equal sign. Now whatever we do on the left hand side of the equal sign, we also have to do on the right hand side of the equal sign. That way we keep it a balanced equation, and we need to be able to do that in order to find a. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and get rid of this 2 on this side. So we are going to divide by 2 on both sides, and we can cancel these out. Right? 2 divided by 2 is 1. We can get rid of it. So we are left on this side with a plus 6. And on this side, 28 divided by 2 is 14. Now we're still left with a number here. We want to get this a by itself. So we need to use our inverse operations to get rid of that 6. So we are going to go a plus 6 minus 6. Now whatever we do to the left, we've got to do to the right. So 14 minus 6. Now we can cancel these out because 6 minus 6 equals 0. We can get rid of them, and it leaves a all by itself on this side. 14 minus 6 is 8. And if you go back and check the worksheet, you will find that that was your answer there already. It is 8. Alright, let's try another one. Alright, this next one is another one that we've done. I just want to do the same ones that we've done so you can go back and see for yourself that they are actually correct. So let's go with this one. You will get negative 3 times negative 2e minus 6 equals 12. And they're going to ask you to find the value of e. So remember, we need to get e on this side of the equal sign by itself. And whatever we do on the left of the equal sign, we need to also do on the right of the equal sign. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to get rid of this negative 3, and we use an inverse operation. So this is negative 3 times. We need to actually do the inverse, which is divide. So let's divide by negative 3. Whatever we do on this side, we have to do on the on the other side, negative 3. Now, negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1. We can cancel those out, and we are left with negative 2e minus 6. And 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4, because remember, a positive divided by a negative will always be a negative. All right, now we still don't have e by itself, and the next easiest one to get rid of is our negative 6 here. So this is minus 6. To get rid of it, we use the inverse operation, which is to add 6. So let's put in here negative 2e minus 6 plus 6 equals negative 4. Remember, whatever we do on this side, we have to do on the other, plus 6. And that will leave us here on this side. We cancel these out because negative 6 plus 6 is 0. We're left with 2e equals negative 4 plus 6 is going to be 2. Alright, now we still need to get rid of this negative 2. It is negative 2 multiplied by e, so we do the inverse, and that is to divide negative 2. Whatever we do on the left, we need to do on the right. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 cancels out, and we're left with e. E is finally on its own, and 2 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 1. And if you go back and check, you will find that that answer is correct. This is the kind of setting out that we're going to be looking for in the exam when you do the written exam. All right, let's do one more example, and then I will leave you to practice the rest. All right, last example. This is another one that we've already done. Negative 5 multiplied by I minus 8 over 6 equals 0. And they're going to ask you to find the value of I. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this 5. Now, how are we going to do that? Remember, this is the same. Negative 5 straight next to a bracket is the same as saying times. So the inverse is going to be to divide. So let's divide by 5. Whatever you do on the left, you've got to do on the right. We can cancel these out because they are like terms. And we are left with I minus 8 over 6. And we know that 0 divided by 5 will always be 0. Alright, we still need to get I on its own. And the easiest one to get rid of next is going to be our 6. And we're dividing, we need to do the inverse. So the inverse of divide is multiply. So we're going to go I minus 8 over 6 times 6. Whatever you do on one side, you've got to do on the other. Alright, we can cancel these out. And we're left with I minus 8. 0 times 6 is still 0. We still got to get rid of the 8 on the left-hand side because we still want I on its own. The inverse of a minus is an add, so let's do that. I minus 8 plus 8, and on the other side we need to do the same, 0 plus 8, and we can cancel negative 8 and positive 8 because that equals 0. And we're left with I finally on its own, and 0 plus 8 is 8. And if you go back and check on your worksheet, you will find that that is the correct answer.